Hi, I'm Ryan Kingsline. Want to know the secret to great sculpture? Learn to see what others ignore, and the back is full of subtle cues. So let's get sculpting it. The first step is to draw on your model and map out landmarks like C7 and whatnot. Just do your best to map these out and try to diagram, for example, the erector spinae or different areas that you're familiar with. The second step is to use my clay brush to establish masses and planes, aka structure. Now, I'm going to approach this gesturally with a focus on movement, but it's important to remember not to just create a series of bumps. We want to push our form here, but we want it to be organized. For example, notice how I'm establishing the mass of the scapula area on the screen left and how that's offset above the rib and the lumbar section. Think about what masses are offset, which are overlapping, and which are maybe recessed inwards. In this stage, constantly move around the model and try to find the high point of each form as well as the valleys in between the forms. As I crawl around the surface, I'm pressing Alt and letting go of Alt within the same brushstroke. This lets me carve in areas to separate them and create planes, but then add form where I feel like I need some more mass. Just keep moving the model, checking your silhouettes, and try not to let your anatomical notations become a symphony of bumps. Instead, we want it to be strategically arranged, like a series of forms that help us see the rhythm and the gesture of our model. Think noise versus music. Is there a rhythm to the forms you've created, or is it more just visual noise? When you're done, you should have something like you see on the screen here. The next step is going to be a little new to you. I'm going to change things up and use a new brush called Knife 02. This is a part of the structure phase, but if I was working in clay, I'd use a knife tool to dig in plane changes. And as you know, the clay brush isn't really good at carving in, and the standard brush can be a little soft sometimes. So I'm just going to work over the surface and focus on digging in planes and creating deep edges that we can build onto later. And this is still part of the structural phase, so don't worry about being too clean. Next, switch back to the clay brush and begin to round some form and create some more masses. Do your best to pay attention to curvature and keep putting in those little notes of different anatomical details. But always think rhythm with your brushstrokes. Try to capture curves and not just straight lines. If you find yourself drawing a straight line, try to break it up here and there along the stroke. Now, this area is an important anatomical note. I'm masking off the lumbar section versus the rib section so that I can get the rib portion to kind of be recessed inwards and move down into the lumbar section. Some people refer to this as the spare tire, especially my young children intent upon embarrassing me. Now, we're reaching the end of the structure phase. So let's check our model silhouette and make a few adjustments. I'm starting to simplify areas and bring the masses together a little bit, not too much. Also, at this point, I start to work with the color a little bit, which means I'm looking at the color of my sculpt, the specific area I'm sculpting, and I'm comparing that with the color on my model. And I'm just asking myself, is mine darker or lighter? And if it's too dark or too light, that might mean that it's not facing the right direction. I might need to build up mass, or I might need to just change the plane a little bit. This is also a great moment to be looking at the model from above and from below to really make sure that you're getting the structural overlaps and curvature of the model correct. And just keep working over the surface of the model, rotating often, and trying to simplify and integrate the forms. Now, if you have something like I have on screen, you're not doing too bad. It's not accurate to the model surface 100%. It's got a lot of my notes in it, but I'd rather you have those notes now than not have them later. The final step is to focus on surface. This is when I break out the rake brush and I use this to round some of my anatomical notes, as well as to smooth the area in between forms and start to create a little sense of skin. This step is all about process. If you don't put the anatomical notes in strong enough in the previous phase, then this phase won't have as much fuel to create a beautiful dynamic surface. Move the model often and check your silhouette often. And remember that this is really about exploration much more than it is about copying. You really want to be discovering forms as you sculpt. When you're done, you should have something like what I've got on screen here. This is a reflection of my journey and my process, and yours is going to be a reflection of that as well.